We're back.
Yes, we are. And glad to be here as always.
Always glad to be here. And we're not exactly on the porch. The porch is like 20 feet away, but we had a little issue with the heat.
It was 93 when I went out to the car. And so Julie took pity on me, and I'm feeling very comfortable now.
I figured I'd get a lot of calls and texts if we were on the porch today.
Yeah.
I did after a freeze out, a really cold one once.
I know.
That people couldn't believe.
People felt sorry for me.
They felt sorry for you.
See?
They had compassion.
That's the word.
That
compassion.
is, by the way.
I looked it up, and the dictionary's version says it's pity.
Right.
I don't see it quite that way. I mean, pity might be part of it,
yes.
But I look upon compassion as kindness and caring and feeling for the person that might have a problem.
Right. So compassion is our word of the week.
It is.
And you've already kind of launched in with the definition. And if you look at the root of passion, it's suffering. The Latin means suffering. And it's recognizing the suffering and walking along with others through their suffering.
Yes, yes.
So it's being with them in their times of suffering. And we talked about that.
We did.
On Sunday night.
Yeah.
The Queen here was my special guest for our Bible study on, what was our parable?
The parable of the prodigal son.
Yes.
And we both can relate to that. I think everyone can, because nobody's perfect.
Absolutely.
And we've all done something that perhaps hurt someone. Mm-hmm. We've come back from it. Mm-hmm. And I know myself, whenever my children went away to college, when they were coming home for a visit, I could hardly wait.
Right.
I mean, I didn't lose them, but it seemed like it. The house was different. They weren't there. And I really looked forward to greeting them and hugging them. And
it was a great homecoming. And that's really, that story that's what it's about. It's about a lost son that comes home and comes back from the dead. Like literally, back then they didn't have phones and internet. So
that's right.
The father did not know that the son was even alive. And really we talked about also how that story could be called the parable of the compassionate father. So back to our word compassionate, because there he was waiting. He didn't need any reason, or when he saw his son, he just started running. And, you know, when he looked at him, he probably saw his torn clothes, probably didn't have sandals, that he had hit rock bottom.
Yes.
And we have a lot of people now who are suffering, that are around us, who are isolated, and we want to be like the father. That's the whole point, to become compassionate.
Yes.
Like the father in this story.
And if someone is compassionate to you when you're going through a hard time, you never forget it. I mean, it's just that extra little bit of caring and kindness.
We never know, and we talked about planting seeds weeks ago, and we never know how far that act of kindness, we've talked about random acts of kindness, how far that will go and how it could impact someone's life. And I believe we're prompted that you know, sometimes the Holy Spirit will prompt us and put maybe a name. Do you ever, sitting there and out of the blue, someone comes to your mind? That happens to me when I walk Toto in the morning. And I'll text that person, and very often it will be like a perfect timing. You know, my friend going into a doctor's appointment, into her chemo, and that same morning I sent her a text. I haven't talked to her in months. But the morning she went in, I sent her a text because God put her on my mind and said, I'm praying for you. And she's like, Julie, that's unbelievable timing. And those small acts are acts of compassion. It's recognizing that there is suffering going on, true suffering. And I know you don't love my Greek words.
No.
And I really struggled on Sunday night. So I'm going for it now.
Go for it.
Splanknizomai.
Say it
That's
again.
how you, splanknizomai. That is the Greek word for compassion. When it explains the father waiting for the son and seeing the son, that the compassion that he felt in that moment. And the cool thing about that word, because I get into the word things, is the meaning is that he had a visceral reaction. He felt it in his gut. And true compassion affects us.
Yeah.
When you're feeling the pain of somebody, you're feeling it. Like sometimes you have a physical reaction. I know when I get sick, when I get like emotional, I get sick to my stomach. Like it's a gut. It doesn't just stay up here. It goes down. And that's the kind of compassion we need to have, where you feel the hurt of somebody.
Yeah.
And
I see people walking on the streets, you know that they're homeless, and they may be sick, they may have other problems, but I get very sad. I can't reach out to them if I'm in a car or something, but it affects me greatly, and yet I don't feel I can do anything about it.
But you do. But you do, Mom, because you support Wheeler Mission. I mean, there's things you do, maybe not in that moment.
Yeah.
But I believe that if God wants you to do something, He'll keep putting it on your heart, and you'll feel your heart was breaking for those people. And we talk about, even in this virus, we were stuck at home, and I really, in my prayers, I was praying for homeless people, because imagine going through this virus and not having a home, being in a homeless shelter.
Yes.
And how people felt like, oh, I'm stuck at home, this is terrible, my kids are bored. Thank God you have a home.
Exactly.
And it's really trying to take your own, thoughts and your own situation. I mean, we live very well, and try to walk in the shoes. You can't always physically walk in their shoes, obviously, because you didn't grow up as they did or whatever. But really trying to feel the pain. And even today, the reason we're in this living room instead of the porch is I had compassion for my mother.
Me.
Because it was pretty hot out there. Now, I could have handled it, but it was an act. So we're kind of living the lesson in the living room.
We are.
We are living the lesson in the living room. You got that? I know. We're not on the porch. But when we walk out in that heat, I immediately think of, what about the people living out here?
Yes.
That don't have a living room to come into.
That's right.
That do not have air conditioning. That's a reality for many people, even who have homes. And to really, sometimes we have to feel those things and to really get a reality check sometimes, so we can be grateful.
That's true with life. If we are going through something that someone else hasn't, it's not, they don't feel it the same. But then if they do in the future, they can realize the pain that we had. So I have been contacted by Wheeler because Wheeler and other places that help the homeless and poor are running out of space, money, food, and they're asking that people will just pitch in now and help them a little more. So.
I think there are so many nonprofits struggling now because people are out of work. I mean, there's so much suffering kind of on every front.
Yeah.
And I do believe that God sends us into places.
Yeah.
I think God puts people right in front of us who are suffering. Yes. I mean, I've got many people that I'm constantly texting who are suffering because of just being single and the isolation.
Yeah.
And being disconnected.
Well,
my friend sent me a text just last night saying she was so hungry for just fellowship because she feels so isolated.
Yes.
And so, we're trying our best with distancing. It's really hard, this physical distancing, social distancing, because people yearn to be together.
Oh, yes.
And isolation can cause a lot of suffering when we're separated from loved ones and friends. And so we need to be the kind of people now who reach out.
We do.
And you do such a great job. So Mom here, the Queenie, I beamed in on Sunday night for my prodigal lesson because I told everyone that I can't think of somebody who represents the compassionate father more than my mama here.
Well, I'm guided by God. He's left me here this long for a purpose.
He's left you here for a reason, Mama.
For a reason. And it's just something that happens. And at the end of whatever I may do, I feel so good. So it works both ways. And Julie's right about people being very isolated, they're depressed.
Yes.
They don't know what to do about it. But meanwhile, we're doing the best we can.
We're doing the best we can every day, and we're trying to help the people that God puts right in front of us.
Yeah.
And we try to be grateful too, because I just every day wake up so grateful. And I think when you start feeling the suffering of others, one of the outcomes back is gratitude.
Oh,
because you say, wow, it really changes perspective.
It does.
It puts life in perspective, because sometimes you get kind of down and grumbly and mumbly, like, oh, poor me, I don't have this or that, or this virus, I can't do this, or this concert was canceled. I mean, of course, these things are, it's difficult for everyone. But then I step out of myself and I say, well, wait a second.
Yeah, exactly.
I am so blessed. Number one, I'm healthy.
Yes.
We don't have the virus. Let's just start there. We have a friend in our singles group who's been in the hospital for weeks that almost did not make it.
Oh, I know.
And we're still praying for our friend Angel. He's texted me now. So he is still in the hospital. He may be coming home this week. But we're talking about a healthy, I don't know how old he is, late 40s, maybe 50.
Yeah.
That is a friend of mine that has hanging on to life, through this. So there are so many people, you turn on the news, who are suffering from this disease or suffering from unemployment, and just so much suffering is just the world. Yeah.
From all of this.
We really
unless someone tells us or we happen to hear about it. But I always say, how can I cry with my mouth full?
Right.
I mean, I get up every day. I can do whatever I want in a lovely home. I'm safe. I'm healthy at my age. And boy, I just want to be grateful.
Yes.
Because I'm one of the few, I would say, at this age that has it all.
Yeah.
And God has done it. I don't deserve it, but
well, none of us do, and that's God's grace, that we get what we don't deserve. God's grace is just through our mistakes, through our failings, through our complaining sometimes, that God is with us and walking with us. And we just want to be there walking alongside, being that compassionate person.
Exactly.
Being the father in the story of the prodigal son, that we can't physically wrap our arms around people, but we love them through their struggles.
Yeah.
And we're just going to keep doing it.
Even if they've made mistakes, which I certainly have.
Absolutely.
They're forgiven.
Right.
And we don't want to go back to the past. We want to just live in the present and look forward to being together.
Right.
And so...
Right. We don't want to get stuck back there. And,
no.
And we don't want other people to, because that's the problem with isolation.
It is.
Is sometimes people get stuck when they're isolated, ruminating over mistakes and kind of how they ended up in this place. And so we want to be the kind of people that are there and say, hey, we're going to walk with you. We've been there. We've struggled.
Yeah.
We've suffered, and so that's why we're here, is to help somebody along, to love God and love each other. And
we know you do too. Otherwise, you wouldn't be tuning in to see what the word is, what we're going to try and do this week. Thanks for coming to the castle.
Coming to the castle. The queen, all hail the queen. Oh no, she's ending. She's ending.
I think so. We've got a lot to do today.
We have a lot to do. This is going to be a busy day. And the queen's going to have some big news coming soon. We're not going to give it away, but we're kind of excited. So anyway, thank you for tuning in. And we challenge you. Last week we challenged you to rest, right? So we hope you feel rested and refueled. And this week, we're going to challenge you to lift somebody up, to keep your eyes open, because I'm convinced we don't have to go look for the hurting people.
No.
They're right in front of us.
They're right
They're in our workplaces. They're in our homes. Let's start. Why don't we start with the people right in our homes?
Yeah.
There are a lot of hurting people. They're our neighbors. They're everywhere. And so when God puts someone in front of you, be there. And it can be a simple gesture. It can be a kind word. It can be a text. It can be a card in the mail, a phone call. Mom makes calls every day to encourage people. So we just hope you follow our lead and show compassion to somebody this week.
Okay. We'll see you
All
later.
right. Take care. Have a great week. We'll see you next week.
Right. Lots of love.
Bye-bye.
And compassion.
And compassion.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.